put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:07 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julien Skeete, and we're heading into this segment this morning as we start our conversation off with Anslem Richards, Chief Technical Advisor at the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy. And we're speaking about the upcoming exercise reprioritizing of our budgetary allocation. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Julian. Good morning to your co-host. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, world, wherever that you are. Thanks for having me this morning.
Excellent. Very good to have you on. So we got a very brief announcement, I should say, coming out from the Chief Secretary a little earlier on, and we know that we had some more details presented coming out of the East when the retreat would have started looking at the reprioritization exercise, and therefore some commitments coming for next week as it relates to the presentation. So we want to start in the first instance by just getting a little insight from you as the Chief Technical Advisor, the process that would have gone in terms of preparations to get to what we all anticipate and look forward to the details for coming next week. What would have been the process involved? Based on coming out of the announcement that took place of the actual budget presentation by the finance minister, and where we are heading to give an indication of our priorities here in Tobago with the funds that are now available to us.
Well, Julian, and it is important that we clarify the context in which this thing is happening. And I think you would have heard this administration repeatedly making the point that the current budgetary arrangement does not give the THA the kind of independence and predictability that is deserving of any budgetary process. So the law provides for the THA to submit its draft estimate of revenue and expenditure before the 30th of June in the financial year, in the previous financial year, for the current financial year, which is 2024, so that the minister can give consideration to those estimates in the national budget. What that really does is that it's legally placed the control of the budgetary process and the development of the island in the hands of the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. So there is no independent legislative protection of the Executive Council's decision that is informed by the priority concerns of Tobagonians. So what we have is that the THA submitted budget, and that's its work plan for 2024. We requested $4.5 billion spread across recurrent 3.9, they're about 3.9 and 3.5 and 1 point something billion. I can't remember the figure exactly for development. What happens in the national budget is that the minister gave us $2.585 billion to cover the entire budgetary operation of the Tobago Assembly, which is 45% less than what we requested. In addition to that, when you drill down to the numbers under recurrent and development, the development budget, which is really the heart of activities to transform the Tobago economy and to provide the kind of growth and socio-economic development that the people of Tobago need, that allocation was cut when it compares to last year's allocation by 35%. So last year we were given $400 million. This year the central government provided only $260 million, which is $140 million less than what we got last year. Therefore, there's a significant misalignment in terms of the budgetary proposal of the Tobago Assembly and the resources that are necessary to execute that program. Therefore, that triggered the need for us to go back to the drawing board in what we are calling the reprioritization exercises to ensure that we can align the work program to ensure that the things that are important and critical for us in Tobago, this administration can deliver them to the people of Tobago in fiscal 2024. So that has resulted in two reprioritization exercises. The executive held one around the first week in November in Speyside at the Manta Lodge, where they look at the overall picture and made what we call a fiscal policy decision as to how they are going to go forward with some of these critical programs, and also giving consideration as to whether we will have to spend more, meaning that we have to engage in what we call deficit budgeting at this time, finding extra money somewhere to support some of the programs and projects that the administration decide is critical to move the island forward at this particular point in time. So we have gone through that exercise. Yes.
Yes, I want to just get into there. As you mentioned, the reprioritizing of the budget and finding additional funds. What are those things that we are exploring? What are those avenues that we are exploring to supplement the budget to make sure that we can get some of our developmental projects completed?
So one of the critical things we can do, we are always pretty well allocated on the recurrent side, and we have done the 5-year trend analysis to see what the spend is like on the recurrent, and we have done the 5-year analysis and getting the average spend across the two major expenditure items, which are recurrent and development. So we would have done that, and we have seen a little fiscal space on the recurrent side, meaning that there are some things that we can do, and the THA does have the authority to move funds from the recurrent side of the budget to the development side. So we are proposing some restriction on that and transfer that money to the development program, so we can do more development work, because that is where the growth potential and the growth needs of the island resides. So we have done that exercise, and we have earmarked a block of funds from the recurrent allocation to transfer to the DP. That will give us some fiscal space and some fiscal energy on the development side of the budget equation to do more work in Tobago. So we are moving. I think we will be able to tap about $110 to $120 million from that kind of exercise. The Chief Secretary have shown that is a possibility that he can work with, and that will be able to transfer that to the development program. That will push our development budget now up to about $375 million, but that is still insufficient based on some of the critical needs that the island has at this particular point in time. You will recall that at the end of last year, around this time, we had severe weather activity that resulted in damage to a number of our road infrastructure, retaining walls, and all of that. And those things are still outstanding in terms of their restoration. So we have a very large development program in terms of the island aging infrastructure. So that will require some more funds in that regard. We are hoping also that, and the Chief Secretary have been making a chorus or a song about this. The Ministry of Finance through the Minister of Finance through the Minister of Finance through the Ministry of Finance have not been releasing all the budgetary allocations for Tobago since fiscal 2017. When we have done the reconciliation, we have written to the Minister, even as recently as September again, pointing out to him that from fiscal 2017 to the end of fiscal 2023, there is an outstanding parliamentary allocation that was not released to the Tobago Assembly to the tune of $166.35 million. We are hoping and we are making representation that we can get this money. If we didn't get it at the start of the fiscal, we should be able to get that allocation in the mid-year review. Serious documentary representation and will be presented to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, hoping that they will honor their legal commitment to provide all the resources that are allocated to the people of Tobago to do the work of the Tobago Assembly for the people of Tobago. So those are some of the major things. We are looking at other options. We have some fiscal space. We are looking to see if we can access. There's a loan from CAF to do some coastal protection work in Grange, in the Grange area and Pigeon Point. That has been approved about 3 to 4 years now, and there is some challenge in having access to the fund. We are putting all the institutional resources and capacity that is necessary to ensure that in this fiscal we can draw down on that $100 million, because definitely there is a need for us to put in that solution, that coastal protection solution at the Grange Bay. When we drive along that roadway, we see what is happening there. There's also a problem at Plymouth. I think it's Black Bay in Plymouth, and we have seen the kind of devastation coastal erosion is having and the impact that is having on Pigeon Point. So we need to have those programs going, and there's a block of fund that is secured from the CAF Bank, which is the Latin America Development Bank, for that purpose.
Mr.
So we are looking at those options to ensure that we can deliver to the people of Tobago what is necessary at this particular point in our development trajectory. But what we need to... Go ahead.
two things I want you to update us on. Just as you spoke about the CAF Bank, I know coming into office, there would have been an indication that in that same year, there would have been a loan granted by to the Tobago House of Assembly, the greater part of which would have been received by the former administration, and there was still a balance on that to be received. If that is the same reference, that thing that you're making reference to, if you can give us an update on that, whether or not this current administration did receive the balance, because at the end of the day, no matter who's the administration in office, you're responsible for the repayment. And the two, the matter as to whether or not the allocations through central government, it's now 2 years in office, have they been coming as per the Constitutional and the Tobago House of Assembly Act requirement in terms of en bloc?
Well, we have problem on two fronts. So let me deal with the first issue. I think there are two issues. There is a CAF loan of $100 million that is specifically designated to do coastal protection. So that is a loan that the central government took from the development bank, the Latin American Development Bank, CAF. So that is a different thing. Then we had the bond financing option, which was a $300 million bond financing opportunity that was approved by the central government under the last administration, so that the THA could have gone to market and borrowed $300 million for development work. They did went to market. First Citizen is the entity that is handling the bond financing operation on behalf of the Tobago House Assembly. But when they went to market, they only raised $165 million. So there's an outstanding block of funds that the THA can access from the bond financing of $132 million. It means, therefore, we'll have to trigger that with First Citizen and let them go back to market to see if we can have secure the investment from the institutional investors to buy those bonds. And we will hold that bonds for 5-7 years and pay the operating cost, which is the interest, over the period. And then at the end of the period, whether it's 7 years, we'll have to do what we call a bullet payment. What is happening with the first phase of this exercise is that they took the $165 million, it becomes due in terms of the maturity, and the payment of the $165 million back to the institutional investor is dated for fiscal 2027, around July 2027. It means, therefore, we have to start putting aside blocks of funds that should amount to $165 million to meet that bullet payment in fiscal 2027. We have been having conversation with the Ministry of Finance and the Minister of Finance in particular. We have written to him on several occasions. We have made the request in the last two media review for them to provide funding for what we would have established, what we call a sinking fund account, that we would have put in one of the commercial bank in an investment. So every year, when you divide the $165 million by the 5 years that was remaining at the time, we would have probably required just around $40 million on average a year. We would have placed that in a special account so that in 2027, we have the $165 million to meet that legal obligation to the investor. The Minister of Finance have not entertained that. He's defaulting to a position that the last administration would have advanced, that they will find the funds to repay. In the current context of the financial position of the THA, there is no way that the THA can raise that money with that debt to contractors that is about $500 million remaining. There is no way in the current financial arrangement between Trinidad and Tobago and the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the THA that the THA can secure that kind of funding to meet those commitments. Mr. Skeete, let me say this to you. The THA by nature and the way it is set up legally, the THA is a spending and expenditure entity. The THA cannot borrow without the approval of the minister. The THA cannot raise funds in the open market without approval of the central government. And the THA, we have a very small economic base in Tobago, so therefore our revenue collection is very low, and there are significant leakages in terms of tax being paid in Trinidad. So there's a whole myriad of issues that we need to sort out where that is concerned. So there's no way the THA can generate the kinds of revenue to pay the liabilities that are owed to contractors, which is about $500 million, and to provide funding to meet this commitment of $165 million in 2027. The central government has to step in and provide the fiscal support, the financial support to the THA to meet these obligations, because these are all inherited obligations. Let me make that point. So there's no way this administration can meet those outstanding liabilities without significant support from the central government. So that is the reality. In terms of the $165 million bond, the Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance have decided to be very disciplined, fiscally prudent, because of the high debt level that the THA, liability level that the THA is carrying. He's very, very not inclined to go back to the market for that $135 million because he understands the debt burden that the THA is already facing. So we are looking at creative ways. We are demanding the $166 million from the central government. That will bring significant fiscal energy into the system for the people of Tobago. And we are looking to see how we can move around funds internally to create a matrix that will give the THA the opportunity to deliver on the critical programs and projects that will change the life experiences of the people of Tobago and move Tobago along that path to becoming the greatest little island on the planet.
The THA, we in this closing segment because we just out of time, but just tell us very quickly, have funds been coming in as per the constitutional requirement, which is on block? And I think, according to my information, it's quarterly that it should be transferred and not monthly.
Well, that has been an issue even before this administration came into office. And when the Chief Secretary, Mr. Farley Augustine, came in, we had conversation with the Minister of Finance. He would have explain or present a case of the cash flow challenges the central government was experiencing at the time. We were able to negotiate an improved position from what was obtained. Remember, before this administration came in, they were getting the allocation was being released monthly to the THA, which presents a degree of uncertainty in terms of your programming of work for the Tobago Assembly. So when we went in to the minister and have the conversation, and that was also generating significant interest charge on the overdraft facility on the fund account of the THA. That was unsustainable. We had a very straight conversation with the minister that the situation must be improved. It was not restored 100%, but we are now at the place where we are getting 2 months in block and then the following month. So it is working in a better way than when we met it when we came into office, because we have had the hard conversation with the minister and told him at a minimum we need to get 2 months in block and then the following month we get the other one. So it is working out. It is not in conformity with the law, but it is an improved position from what we met when this administration came into office.
All right. Well, we want to thank you so much, Mr. Richards, for being on with us. And viewers, please don't go anywhere because we got to take a quick break and we'll be back with more of the Tobago Updates morning show.